Hello, and welcome to VIFF's highly anticipated Totally Indie Day. My name is Rylan Gutman, and I am the Director, Member Development at the BC chapter of the CMPA, a proud sponsor of the festival and today's conference. The CMPA is Canada's trade association for independent producers. We represent hundreds of companies engaged in the development, production, and distribution of English language content for TV, feature film, and digital media channels. We work on behalf of our members to ensure a bright future for domestic media production and Canadian content. We believe that by supporting independent producers, we are ensuring diversity of voices and storytellers. We are committed to supporting Canadian experiences and perspectives from across the country and know that supporting deep-rooted Canadian companies means that we are building a strong, sustainable industry that can stand on their feet. Thank you again for joining us today for this exciting day of talks, and please enjoy the festival. Thanks. Bye.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of William F. White International, I'd like to offer a warm welcome to Totally Indie Day. My name is Tank Phipps, and I'm the Emerging Filmmakers and Creators Coordinator. As many of you will know, WFW are staunch supporters of the independent and emerging creator communities. My role is helping creatives realize their vision, helping people to navigate the turbulent waters of moving image production, helping foster strong relationships in the industry, and building a solid foundation for world-class storytellers right here in Canada. I'm delighted that we're once again partnering with VIFF to celebrate independent filmmakers, sharing their experiences and gain insights to help us all elevate our craft. Without further ado, on with the show.
All by myself in the morning, all by myself in the night. I sit alone with a table and a chair. I'm gonna lay my weary head on somebody's shoulder. I'm never growing older. Not by myself.
Na siya I na Tŝilhqot'in. Vanessa quan na squeech I Kaayla squeeze to neats mathguiam. Ami tsap quathuilam I tanash mathguiamal tamo tush amet tas hunt caminum can. I tlu tush alle quatst tus quamich I desilil with hal masteo. Ni Tŝilhqot'in na siya quants hunt caminum can. Sasu tu qua ait quath qualoan. Sta quana siwanel satsamsan nia to swallow. I hilaxto to huinal I mechnaten. Cinematographer to swallow who I namech with E to E. Quan Ewan awel quath no wayel. Heitzapka.
Hello, my name is Kaayla. My English name is Mac Paul. This is Vanessa Campbell, and we are from Musqueam. We are so honored to be here with you on behalf of our community, our elders, and our leadership, and welcome you to the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. We'd like to thank the Vancouver International Film Festival for creating space for this important work at their 40th anniversary. We hope you enjoy the show. Heitzapka.
Oseam Tanoyap, Titaichama Queen Kwashamin, Rebecca Queensna, Skopmishchin, Ywan ha tlin squaw when quistlack no mo yap eight ti nat ti come alike. Schotmish o homer. Hello everybody. My true name is Tŝilhqot'in. My English name is Rebecca, and I am from the Squamish Nation. It is such good feelings in my heart to welcome you to our sacred territory we call Kamalai, also known as Vancouver, Squamish Nation's own sacred territory. I'd like to start us off in the proper way by singing a paddle song to bring us all in this giant canoe, if you will, all together with good feelings and good thoughts. Orsiyam. Chaislokam, Iayosh, Chaislokam, Iayosh, Takahot, Chaislokam. Osam Tanoyap. Honor your canoe, honor your neighbor's canoe. Stay safe, everybody. Osam.
So I'm Gabriel George. Tashwalap na akwetal na CM na CMPA. Tashnemish at Tasalewatash, Huelmuch. To all of you, my dear friends and family, we are the Tŝilhqot'in Nation. Tanawel, East Etish at Tasiwan Ash at Humathquium, Schotmish, Tŝilhqot'in. Today, we have gratitude for the ancestors of the Musqueam people, the Squamish people, and the Tŝilhqot'in people. Haitsep ewish CM. Haitsep CM.
Hello, my name is Charlene Alec. I am elected council for Tŝilhqot'in Nation. On behalf of the children, the youth, the elders, and our matriarch at Tŝilhqot'in, we'd like to raise our hands to the work that the Vancouver International Film Festival is doing and hosting international filmmakers from around the world. And we'd also like to congratulate you for the participation in the 2021 VIFF and welcome you. Heights at Awith.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today for our annual Totally Indie Day on VIFF Connect. My name is Kyle Fossner and I'm the Executive Director of VIFF. I'd like to start by giving thanks to the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tŝilhqot'in nations for their continued stewardship of the ancestral and occupied land upon which we live and work. VIFF is committed to honoring the land and its stewards by collaborating with and supporting Indigenous artists, filmmakers, curators, and audiences. Totally Indie Day offers the next generation of filmmakers insights into how to employ both vision and resourcefulness when bringing their stories from the page to the screen. Through diverse panels which cover issues like how to find distribution, how to build online audiences, or how we keep the creative voice alive throughout production. Totally Indie Day's program provides us an opportunity to share stories, gain insights, and learn more about the art and business of cinema. Totally Indie Day is graciously supported by the CMPA, Warner Media Access Canada, and William F. White. Our community broadcast partner is Telus, and our community partner is the Vancouver Short Film Festival. So with that, I'd like to offer a very warm welcome to our incredible guests and our audiences. Enjoy the show.
All right. Tanshi Kiwa, Bita Kwe. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Tŝilhqot'in, Tyler Hagan. My name is Tyler Hagan. I'm a producer and director in Nukin, Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh. I live and work in Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh territory. And it's my honor and pleasure to welcome everybody here to Totally Indie Day's case study of Portraits from a Fire. And I just want to say off the top that was a really wonderful intro video that VIFF has put together for today's session and for the festival. It was so wonderful to hear Hunkaminam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh languages and to see the people to welcome us, even though we're, of course, virtually together today. So merci to VIFF. Thank you very much for that. So as I said, we're doing a case study of Portraits from a Fire, the debut feature film from Trevor Mack. And I'm absolutely excited to welcome everybody for this session. This session is brought to us by UBC ACTRA, who's generously sponsored this session. And so without further ado, I'd be very happy to introduce our guests. So as I mentioned, director Trevor Mack is here, producers Rylan Friday and Kate Kroll, cinematographer Kaayla Wachell, and editor Elan Tzadok. Okay, so everybody, welcome. And as I said, really excited to chat about this. You folks just came off your first screening, or not your first screening, but the opening night screening at Edmonton Film Festival last night. Maybe just a couple remarks. How did it go?
It was beautiful. It was amazing. Oh, I guess my little cup can't get in there. It says "End Colonial Segregation." I'll put it off to the side. It was, yeah, incredible to have the film play there on the big screen. The emotion is so palpable when it's on such a big screen, and to have the festival organizers tell us that we won the best feature film was an amazing start to sharing this fire that we've been adding kindling to for the last 5 years. Now it's a big, nice, warm fire where we can all start gathering around. So it was really nice.
Excellent. Okay, so that was your first time seeing the film in person and on a big screen, and walked away with the best Canadian feature film award. So that's not bad. So a little bit of housekeeping as well. Portraits from a Fire is available on VIFF Connect from now until the end of the festival. That's virtually, and then it also has screenings in person tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. and next Saturday at 1 p.m. So anybody who, I'm assuming most of the VIFF audience has yet to see the film, but please do go see the film if you get the chance. In this session today, we're going to try to cover as much as we can as far as the case study goes. We're going to talk about where the project came from, the inspiration for it, how it came together, and got to this point. We're going to talk about working with Trevor's community in Tŝilhqot'in, and we're going to try and talk about as much as we can about the film. We have about until 10:45, and then we'll be starting to open up for Q&A. So if you have questions, you can hold them until that point, and we'll get to them then through the chat. I believe you can press buttons at the bottom to submit questions, and then we'll have them conveyed to the panel here. So let's get started. Trevor, this is such a wonderful film, such a funny film, such a sad, tragic story as well. Very self-reflexive. So could you just maybe start with telling us where did this story come from?
All right, so I'm going to try to speak really fast so we can get everything in, and then maybe if people play it back, they can play it back at half the speed, and then they can listen to it in regular speed. This film this film is the culmination of a lot of different things, but there were large, I guess you could say, streams that have come together, you know, to create this massive river that is now Portraits from a Fire. One of those streams, or one of those Echli in our language, is a moment in 2016 where I was mugged and assaulted in downtown Vancouver. And that left me with my jaw wired shut for about 3 months. And in that process, it was a process of collaboration with writers, one of which being Derek Vermillion, and another one of which being Kathleen Hepburn as well in that process on another project. And so that process was about just getting everything out in a very raw form. And within the healing process that occurred with my own healing process, where I would come from drinking by myself downtown Vancouver, waking up in the back of trucks, you know, in the waterfront parkade, scratches all up and down my shirt, blood. And I'm like, whoa, was I hit by a vehicle? Did I get chased by dogs? You know, that was kind of like a normal thing. So going from that and then going into my healing journey and finding peace and solace through psychedelic plant medicines and going back to my land of Tzadok, Kroll, and Tŝilhqot'in, I was able to get a different perspective on my decisions that I was making and where I was coming from, and realizing that those decisions didn't end or begin with me, and I was just a continuation of decisions that have been happening intergenerationally. You know, my mother, my uncles, my aunts, their parents, my grandfather, my grandmother, and it goes back and kind of seeing that for the first time. And so, you know, the story is about just that. It's about the what it takes to break intergenerational cycles, and how do we do that through compassion, through love, through forgiveness, rather than through vengeance, rather than through anger. And so in that process of my healing, got to then see that story, that raw story, in a different perspective, you know, instead of making a film that focuses solely on the trauma and identifying with that trauma, just as I was beginning to identify myself with the pain that happened to me, my healing journey showed me that that's just the first step. Acknowledging your pain and trauma is the first step, but sometimes we can get caught in that step, and we could begin identifying ourselves with that. And so the next step is about what, you know, what does the future hold? What does the vision for the future well-being of our independent selves, but our collective selves? And so this film is about envisioning a future of Indigenous cinema that is filled with joy, laughter, and abundance. And, you know, those are the films that I hope to see more of in Indigenous cinema, is envisioning an abundant future for our people. And so in that process, I get to, you know, meet up with Kroll, Rylan Friday, Kaayla, and beginning to construct this. And so those are some of the streams that have come together.
Wonderful. And I guess one of the really interesting kind of things that happens in this story is the main character, Tyler. It has this really, really strong relationship to storytelling itself, to filming, and, you know, like his whole thing is making films and trying to get his community excited about them. So is this kind of like semi-autobiographical, you know, place where the story starts?
Very much so. It's like, that's what I've been learning about storytelling, is just be true to yourself and just be like, you know, this is the story that I know of myself. You know, I'm not going to tell somebody else's story and, you know, act like I know what it's like to be another person. Everybody has their own stories, and I don't know any of the intricate details of anybody else's stories, but I know my story. And so, you know, the more paradoxically, it's like the more personal you get with yourself, actually, the more relatable it is for other people. Because in the end, you know, a lot of us have the same challenges. And if we get to know each other, and if we get to see each other through compassion and forgiveness, we can all be like, hey, we're all going through the same stuff. That's cool. All right, let's help each other out. So yeah, it's very much a film that, you know, I dreamt of making a film in my home community of Tŝilhqot'in, and to have the community be, you know, of course, so involved with the film and the making of it, and the release has been something I'm super grateful for.
Awesome. And like you're saying, the film is joyful. It's so funny. I was laughing throughout. I was, you know, laughing with the characters. I was laughing at the, you know, the inside film jokes. And it was really a joy to watch. So thank you for this film, honestly, everybody. So maybe next up we can get into a little bit of how the project started coming together. So how did you know, you started with a story, and then when did it first start, you know, basically, you know, gaining momentum? When did you start bringing your team on board and starting to look towards actually being able to go into production?
So in that process, two names, Kelton Stepanovich and Derek Vermillion, were very instrumental in the guiding of the conceptual ideas for the film. And a short film was created called Etsu, and this was just after the crossing over of my Etsu, my grandmother. And it's about this young boy trying to communicate with his Etsu through the memories of these videotapes. And there's this effect called data moshing that I found really, really interesting. And so we decided to explore this idea of data moshing and trying to utilize that effect to communicate different planes of reality, communicating with one another. And what that looks like, it's almost like the digital equivalent of messing with the actual literal film strips and, you know, coloring or scratching them. And so, you know, it's like, okay, how can we do that digitally? How can we mess with the actual pixels of the movie and make it and have that a storytelling element? And so after that short film came out, which played at TIFF and VIFF as well, the fostering of this feature film began. And that's when, you know, I brought a film that myself and Kathleen Hepburn were working on, brought it to Screen Siren, and kind of coincidentally, they were like, hey, well, do you have anything else in the meantime? And I was like, oh yeah, I have this other like little film. And then that's when I met Kate Kroll and Rylan Friday while they were working at Screen Siren to kind of, you know, then to elevate the portrait story.
Well, actually, because we were supposed to work on another film together, Trev, but then that mugging happened to you. Remember?
Was that the with Kathleen?
No, it was another. We were going to work on a short film together, I remember. And then it's interesting how it all came together for this film. Yeah.
Right.
I remember Trevor, like me and Trevor worked together at the Inspire Awards in 2016, and we just had that brief connecting point. We didn't talk much, but like when I started working for Tŝilhqot'in as her executive assistant for a year and a half, like Trevor would come into the office a lot and we connect. And I remember through email, Trevor asked Trish, just presenting like this a concept for a film, and Trish asked me if I was interested in producing it, and I just froze just because Tŝilhqot'in saw something bigger within me. And I remember talking to Kate about it, and eventually Trish talked to Kate, and we were just like, okay, we need to formulate a game plan. Me and Kate had a long conversation, and we're like, okay, this is going to test the limits on our friendship and just like our working dynamic. And we're in this together. And honestly, to have Kate guide me and Trevor through this entire process has just been like such a great experience. I'm learning so much and continuing to learn so much. And literally, like, I learned trial by fire by producing portraits from a fire. And I'm really I'm really glad to know like where the film is now and just like the accomplishments and how everything came to be, just with those various connecting points that me and Trevor had, and just like with me and Kate already having like a good solid friendship and working dynamic too, like the payoff is just unreal. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I'll say, like, I don't think you can make these films without some level of disillusionment. Like, I feel like if we like really knew how hard it was going to be, we wouldn't have done it. So like in our head, we're like, yeah, we'll just get everyone out to Anaheim and like everyone will just sleep in a tent and like we'll get a porta potty or something. And then it was like, no, it turned out to be so much bigger than what we initially expected and harder. I mean, there was no cell reception or Wi-Fi out there, so communicating with the team was difficult, and like it was so difficult, but it was like childbirth, where like we got this beautiful baby that we all created together, and it was so worth it. But it was difficult, and we had like, I just wanted to talk a little bit about this mentorship program that we did through Story Hive, which Rylan actually spearheaded because he did a similar mentorship on the body. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm 7 months pregnant and my brain is like.
Yeah, it's a joke that like me and Trevor in this film prepped Kate for like motherhood, just like as we're the younger inexperienced producers. But yeah, for me, like I had the joy and pleasure of working on the Body Remembers when the world broke open back in 2018. And for me, like I felt like I was carrying the torch over just because I wanted to create something special and meaningful. And what I took away from that was like a sense of community, and we had a lot of growing pains with ours, and I'm sure like with Tyler, Kathleen, Lori, and Elmaya, and that there was a lot of growing pains on that production as well, just trying to add like another layer of like complexity, adding like a whole new level of like inexperienced like people on a major production. And the way I view it is that like filmmaking and our industry is such a colonial concept. We're extractive, we're taking so many resources, and we're taking stories where we're shaping the story and just to fit like a very niche element. And for us to go to Trevor's home community with 17 people from around Vancouver, if not more, I felt it wasn't really for me, like I just wanted to make something like different and change the cycle and make sure that we can just be a cog turning the other way in this colonial machine that is filmmaking, just because we're going to be taking like resources, people, and everything. And I just want to make sure like this was my way, and as well as like the production's way of like giving back to the community, just to ensure we're building jobs and capacity and implementing more storytellers within film, especially with more Indigenous representation. And I'm proud to say that like we had 18 to 17 mentees, and there's a handful of them that have went to film school or have interest in like actually working in the industry and wanting to move to Vancouver to be a grip or a writer direct. And for us, it wasn't a one size fits all, to be honest. Like I thought, for me, like I was so naive, I was young and just wanted to see what we could do. There was a lot of department heads who weren't really gelling with the mentees on a specific day or whatnot. And we actually had to talk to like the mentee and be like, okay, what do you want? Like, we're here to hold space. We're actually here to empower you. Okay, we're gonna swap you out from this department and actually move you to like art department if like hair and makeup isn't working for you. And it took about like, by the fourth day, everyone was happy within their role and whatnot. And yeah, it was great. Kate, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just say, I think like we learned a lot from it too. And I think especially for me, again, I didn't realize how like colonial the film industry actually was, and how much of like how much is built on like the patriarchy and white supremacy, really, until we actually went up there, because we had like our core team who were experienced in the Vancouver film industry. And then we came up and we worked with these mentees who were just so incredible. But it was like, we're bringing this Vancouver mentality there. And like, I didn't really realize it until I saw it. And I think for me, that changed me as a producer and as a filmmaker to actually see like, okay, we need to actually change how things are done in this industry. And it's actually a lot more colonial than I even knew. And we even thought we were taking all these steps to decolonize. And I feel like I learned so much that I'll never do again on any other production. I'm so grateful for that. So it was growing pains, but I think there's a lot of really good that came out of it. And we were able to, we got some extra COVID funding that we were able to like give to these mentees, and we donated like a 40-foot movie screen to Trevor's community that so that people could like view movies outside during the pandemic. So like there's a lot of good, but like a lot of things I would have done differently, but I wouldn't have known that if we hadn't done it this way on this film.
Nice. And Kaayla, to bring you in as well, maybe you could speak a little bit about your experience being part of the mentorship program, but also just working really closely with Trevor and working in the community, and as well being somebody coming from Vancouver.
Yeah, prior to like the actual shooting, I went up there twice with Trevor, and I really wanted to make sure that while we were filming, I didn't feel like I hadn't seen these spaces before. I didn't want people to feel like, oh, here's this outsider who's just going to point a camera in my face, because as a cinematographer, I feel like I'm placed in that position a lot. And then I can feel the people's like being uncomfortable. And I just don't want to place people in that situation. So yeah, it was really important to me to spend a lot of time up there with Trevor and to get to know his family, which was really amazing. And then with the mentorship, like we had some amazing mentees who are now in the film industry. Trevor's cousin Travis was like a grip on portraits, and he worked really hard and is now doing super well in film. And it's like really exciting to see that. Yeah. Right
on. And to kind of maybe take one kind of step back to ground this conversation. I know we don't have a ton of time, and we're gonna get Elan in here too, but Trevor, maybe you could also just kind of talk to us a little bit about how you navigated this extraordinary feat of just trying to make your first feature film, but also doing it within your community, working with your community. We worked together on a short film that you made several years ago, and we shot it in your community as well. So I recognized some faces and some places in the film. And so there's, maybe we could talk a little bit about obviously your history there, but this is a really intimate, like very, very clearly grounded film and story that comes across. And so, yeah, I'd just be really interested to hear you talk about how you navigate this really challenging feat of just making a film, but also stewarding and making sure you're coming into your community in a good way.
Channel, yeah, it was a massive, it's everything is, it gets to be more complicated than you originally think. But I think that's what, in the end, that's what learning is. Learning is having our entire preconceived notion of truth completely shattered. And then it's like, oh, actually, no, this is how things actually are. It just, as Kate was saying, right, that's how we learn. And that's a good thing. We should be nourishing those moments of learning, nourishing those moments of, whoa, I thought this was totally different, and it's actually like this. And so, it's something that it's really great to hear that, there's more and more energy going towards changing how things happen in the film industry. With my films, I had originally, they're very small productions relatively, with Clouds of Autumn, that you worked on, and then even other films that I've worked on that were pretty small and pretty intimate. And so, it's something that for this film, like the entire, like we had so much of the community that got together and stepped up, and you know, like whether it was the cooks, the drivers, and the mentees, and just like my family, my uncles, my aunties, and just the general community, kind of, you know, the everybody knew that the movie was being made, and you know, it was Kirby. Kirby would always be like, "Hey," even on Clouds of Autumn, he's like, "Hey, we're making a Hollywood movie. All right, everybody be quiet." And so it's, you know, just that energy is just really great. And you know, we have gotten through an entire force, whether it's the church and or the government that have tried to essentially genocide us as a people. We've gotten through that, you know, through the spirit of comedy, through the spirit of laughter. And you know, we've gone through a lot of hard things, and you know, we're still here, and right now we're at a point where we're just trying to figure out the best ways to make movies in our communities, and we're going to trip and fall, and we're going to stumble. You know, we're finding our voice, and we're learning how to run, and you know, and in that process, you know, we're gonna get the strides. We're gonna start running. You know, the wind is gonna be at our backs, and we're all gonna start running together, Indigenous, non-Indigenous. And so it's you know, we're in that process right now of you know, looking at which way is the way that has a lot of rocks, has a lot of water, has a lot of hills. And so we're kind of like, okay, we got our stride now, which is the direction we want to go. So it's just an incredible honor, and I'm super grateful to have a community, especially in times such as now, to have a community, you know, to play together. You know, when my uncle Gilbert says we need to play together more, and that's what we essentially did. You know, we all played together as a community, and you know, we dressed up and we acted, and you know, it's essentially what we did, is we played together. And so it was amazing to see that in our community,
because everyone from the film, all the actors were from the community, with the exception of Asivak Kustashin and Nathaniel Arcand. So that's quite remarkable. I think it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of one of the things I wanted to get to next, was just these actors in the film are incredible. You know, Tyler, the lead, and Sammy his
Tammy.
Sammy stole the show.
so yeah, and you know, you guys filmed before the pandemic, obviously, and you've been working at it since, and doing, you know, other stuff as well. Of course, the pandemic's hit, but maybe, you know, as well as touching on the working with non-actors from your community, we can also bring a lot in as well, and talk about the crafting of this story, you know, in the third iteration of writing the film, in the edit, and you know, alluding to some of the stuff that you said earlier about discovering the story. I know we discussed this a little bit, of like, you know, how the story evolved even through the edit, to find something that struck a different tone, that got a different message across than maybe what was even written, or you know, so maybe we could start with a little bit of working with the actors in the community, and then we can talk about the
Yeah, it's an amazing process. It was, for me, being able to direct a total ranging spectrum of experience of acting. You know, you have Nathaniel Arcand, who's one of the most busiest Indigenous actors right now, Civic, who's a rising star, and William, Sammy, Milani, my uncles, my mom, you know, who were like, whoa, we got a big camera here. I don't know what to do. Why do I have to say things over again 10 times? But essentially allowing and giving that space for just that truth, just to you know, just to be able to show the truth that everybody has. And, William did an incredible, amazing job to be a star of a movie of a 120-page script that, he essentially read in a couple of nights because we were just like, oh yeah, here's the movie script. Whoops. And so in the end, it was all learning because I had no idea what I was doing. And so it was kind of comforting to be like, hey, we all have, you don't have an idea. I don't have an idea. Let's just see where this goes. Let's see. And so, yeah, it was incredible. And, to have Sammy is just Sammy in the movie. Etsu, Milani is just Milani. That's who my community wants to see. My people want to see our people on the screen, and so to have Milani fish, to have Sammy make some baby baskets, that's who our people are, and that's who they want to see, and what they're doing too. When Milani's fishing, we have people who's watching the movie and they'll pause the movie and be like, hey, that's where I caught my first fish. Remember that story? Remember when we were dipping it? And so all of those moments lead to other stories that can be told, whether it's through the household or on a community level. And so it was amazing to have all of that be constructed, magically by a lad, because we have many outtakes and many different ways of the performance going that way or that way. And, we had entire sections of scenes and sections of the movie switched and put this way and this way to actually be for the better. And I'm super grateful for a lad's experience and his eye for that.
Yeah, it was an interesting edit. I think like we talked yesterday or the day, whenever we were chatting before, about how there was this process of discovery in the edit. And I don't really know if that's that. I think the story was always there. And I think everybody was really committed to wanting to find the heart and find the beauty in the story that you guys crafted and the movie that you guys made. And it was just about peeling that away. And I think Trevor and I found this balance and had all these chats about what it is that we're trying to convey, what it is that this movie is supposed to do, and really kind of walk that fine line between showing that heart and showing that love, both for the people, for the community, and also tapping into something that's universal.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got a couple questions coming in, and we'll start reading them out. But if you do have questions, please get them in. We've got just over 10 minutes to get through the rest of our time here. So first question is, how did you balance telling a story about so much pain without exploiting the trauma?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for that question. That's something that in my own healing journey, it was the first step was acknowledging the trauma, as I said before, but there's more steps to our healing process. And as Indigenous people, as Ninkaini, there are more steps to our collective history too. And so, when we're telling stories, what's the resonance that we want our youth to resonate with? We're not only finding our stride, but we're also finding our song right now in Indigenous cinema. And so what kind of song do we want to sing? Do we want to sing about dystopian futures, or do we want to sing about visions, healthy, abundant, joyful, happy visions of the future? Because, that's something that's a part of not only our independent healing journey, but our collective healing journey to looking what's in the future in store for humanity. And so it's something that this film is actually a very tragic film about something that's really serious, but it's not actually about that. It's about, it's like, okay, what's a tutorial for healing intergenerational trauma? How can we make a tutorial for that, but mask it as entertainment and comedy and drama? And what that is looking each other in the eyes with compassion, forgiveness, and love. Like that's what it is, looking at each other in the eyes and seeing ourselves and seeing everybody's story and everybody's journey. So I think sometimes we get so focused on trauma, but it's like, whoa, 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 healing, 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 healing. So, you know, let's resonate with that. Let's resonate with healing, and let's focus on that. Because in the end, you can't have healing without the trauma. When we go pick for medicine for the Chen Zach, you know, the pitch of the tree, we pick the pitch out of the tree, but the pitch only is able to come out of the tree because there's a scar in the tree that allows the pitch to come out. And so when we pick for medicine, we pick the pitch and we give our thanks, but we don't sit there and stare at the scar and you know, like, oh no, the scar. It's like, no, thank you for this scar. Thank you for this medicine. And so, you know, they go together, the trauma and the healing, but you know, there's an acknowledgement of the trauma, but should be a focus on the healing.
And there's also a really, I think, well-crafted approach for this story, because the traumatic event, like the really, really traumatic event, is something that is intergenerational. So like you're saying, like they're dealing with something, this family is dealing with something that's happened in the past, and our main character is kind of trying to uncover what is really going on with this family, right? So there's, I think, a really, you know, a really nice crafting of the story in that sense, that there's enough of a remove from the trauma so that time has passed, and that there is, you know, it's still a scar, right? But there is a healing that can start to happen because that time has passed, and because there's a certain remove from the traumatic event itself. I like that. Next question is, I like this question too. As a team, how did all of you get on the same page regarding the vision for this film and how you wanted to bring it to life? So, you know, I think we can talk about the prep, talk about, you know, all that development work, and how did you all get on the same page?
Maybe Kaayla can talk about this.
Yeah, there was a lot of prep, but the script changed quite a bit. And speaking about like the trauma in the film, like Trevor and I didn't always see eye to eye with some of the characters, especially like Tyler's mom in the film. And I think that's something that changed throughout even the edit of the film, is how his mother is represented. But that was a long journey to get there. And I remember sometimes me and Trevor would be fighting over script. And as a cinematographer, I'm not supposed to be fighting about dialogue, but I felt so, you know, so heavy about some things that happened in the film. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Trevor and I, we really became friends over this film, and we got to the point that we were quite honest with each other. Sometimes, you know, he'd be like, I don't like this, and we would have to talk about it for a few minutes. And bless Jesse Anthony, who, you know, negotiated a lot of those conversations, our first AD. But yeah, I think it was a very positive experience working all together with Rylan and Kate. And we left feeling, I myself, when I came back from shooting the film, I was quite like sad for a while, because I was like, oh, like, did I just, you know, capture these people and I'm never going to see them again? And there's that fear that you're just there to exploit someone to get what you want, and then, you know, you're gone. And that's something that, you know, still weighs on me as a cinematographer, is like making sure that you do the prep work, but you also like follow up with these people, and you're not just like in their life for a second.
I'll say on our end for post, it's always interesting because you're kind of removed from everything that happens on set, and you get everything, and you also have this cocoon of just being you and the director, and being able to afford the time to spend to get a sense of the vision and get a sense of the intent. But I think for me and Trevor, the thing that connected us, and the thing that I kind of almost instantaneously got, was music. I think the second Trevor and I started talking about music references and how we kind of bonded, both liking the same stuff and getting his references. Like, I think you were talking early on, I think we were talking about this is Fight Club meets Paris, Texas, meets, I can't even remember what the third one is. Oh, meets Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I see this movie. I totally get what he's trying to do.
And that's actually a perfect segue into the next question slash comment, which is congratulations on this incredibly powerful film that captures the spiritual journey of indie filmmaking so well. The music was so perfectly integrated with the cinematography, specifically the scene with the father remembering the tragedy in the Chicago building, and the final song, whose lyrics rhyme so well with the film. Did you have, so Trevor, did you have a music in mind before editing the film? Yeah, that was another thing that I noticed while watching it, was just like the music was really, really great. And as a producer, I was like, wow, how did they get the rights to so many songs?
I begged. I made Trevor write a letter, and I literally begged these people.
And
it's something, yeah, that, you know, the style in which I started as video game montage editor. So I started envisioning storytelling with, you know, the combination of image and sound with music montages. And so that starting how I tell stories that way was just a natural thing. It was like, well, of course this movie is going to be 90% montage. But it's like, it's something that, and yeah, the song, the intro and credit song was there
So
already
good.
in there. And actually the climax song by Mogwai is a song that I grew up watching this video of the Pale Blue Dot, Carl Sagan, the Pale Blue Dot. And there's this montage with that song. And I was like, as I was envisioning this, it was that song. And then it's just about like manifesting it and realizing, like, yeah, of course we're going to get that song, like having no doubt and be like, oh, I don't know, they're going to submit this. It's like, no, just go for it, write the letter, ask for it, push for it if it's something that you believe in. And, you know, of course we had Conan Karpinski and Andrew Dixon, who were the composers on the film as well. And the music that they composed is just outstanding and melds so perfectly in with these songs that we kind of, you know, myself and the lad were listening to for, you know, over a year. And so, you know, the music is very, very important, because it's, you know, in the end, right, it is the images and sound that we put together to create something new. And it's a ceremony, just as we put in a smudge right here. With the smudge here, you know, we're putting earth and fire together. So we're putting image and sound together. And how can you play with that? You know, play with image and sound together.
Beautiful. And oh, what was I going to add? Oh, there was a really, really nice thing that I noticed watching the credits as well. I don't know if I've seen this before, if you all have seen this anywhere else, but with the you know, the composed bits, you had the credits for who played each piece of music and which scenes they're playing. Was that something, like, how did that come about? Have you seen that on other films, or did you guys just come up with that?
I don't know. Why did we do that? I think we wanted to give credit to the musicians who came on. Like, for example, a friend of mine, Inez Lewis, who's a musician, a really incredible singer. Like, she came on board to help to work with Conan and Andrew, the composers. And, you know, she came up with this idea because she's Stalo, and she brought this idea about these deer hoofs in one of the big scenes at the end. And so I wanted to make sure everyone who contributed musically was credited properly. So I think that's, you know, we just wanted to make sure that everyone who came on or who contributed was acknowledged. And yeah, I will say Andrew and Conan were incredible. They did such a beautiful job composing the film. And I think that came from Elad and Trevor's inspiration with the temp music that we had in. So you guys just did such a beautiful job.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got about 1 minute left. The last question of the day from me is, Trevor, can you tell all our audience about why we use film?
We use these films, as my people say, these films, as you know, this is important because these are literal images and stories that we're telling our people. And so the stories that we tell our people are filled with teachings. And so those teachings are there to help us in the future. And so when we're putting image and sound together and creating something new, anything that's creation is ceremony, because that's super sacred, you know, two becoming one, in our language. And so, film is so crucial in the stories that we want to portray to our people, because it's not only the literal sounds and images that we're showing, but it's also, whether it's fiction, these actors, whether it's in a fictional world, they're still creating this resonance. They're still saying what they're saying. The images we're making are still images that we're showing back, even with or without context. And so there's so much power and responsibility that we have as storytellers, as an Indigenous storytellers, to envision futures that we want our grandchildren to live in, to tell stories based upon our teachings of past traditions and stories, to envision new futures that we want to manifest. And so with film, it's a combination of so many people and decisions and passions and dedications coming together to create something new, where a film becomes a ceremony of so many different songs that have come together to create this new song that's never existed before. So this song is going to resonate with so many other films. And the films that do resonate with each other, the youth are going to resonate with those films and those energies. And they're going to be like, wow, no way. That's a future that I'm excited for. That's a future that inspires me, that gives me hope in this world. That's what healing is. That's what, when we're making these films, we're thinking about our kids, we're thinking about the youth. And if we're not thinking about the youth, then that's not true Indigenous storytelling, because Indigenous storytelling is always thinking about the youth and the next 7 generations, in the past and in the future. And so, yeah, it's one big ceremony. That's what film is.
Wonderful. Okay, well, that's all the time we have. And I want to say merci, thank you to all our guests here, and merci to VIFF for having us, and hope everybody enjoys the rest of their totally indie day.